All right, so you're ready to like really get into self-love.
Yeah.
And you picked two audiobooks to help you do it.
Okay.
Love Yourself, How to Love Yourself Now, and Mindfulness, the ultimate mindfulness meditation guide.
Wow.
And
Really different.
yeah, they seem really different.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot more overlap than you might think.
I'm excited to hear about it.
Yeah, so today we're going to deep dive into those books, and hopefully you can walk away with at least one tip that you can use today to start loving yourself better.
Awesome.
So to kick things off, I think it's interesting how both of these sources really emphasize the importance of self-awareness and acceptance.
It's true. They actually both say that that's like the very foundation
Okay.
of self-love and mindfulness.
Interesting. Okay, so then let's get into it. Let's break down self-love.
Okay.
What does it actually mean? It's way more than just like, bubble baths and face masks, right?
Absolutely. Love yourself actually breaks it down into 4 key components. It's respect, care, responsibility, and knowledge of self.
Wow.
Yeah. And it encourages us to actually take concrete actions,
Okay.
like treating ourselves kindly, honoring our limits, attending to our needs, setting boundaries, and even just celebrating those small wins.
Yeah, I love that idea of celebrating small wins.
Yeah.
What does the book say about that?
So the book emphasizes that when we acknowledge even our small victories, it can actually help rewire our brains to focus on the positive.
Wow.
And it helps to shift our perspective and build momentum towards those bigger goals.
I like that. Yeah, you kind of build up that muscle.
Exactly. It's like
Yeah.
building a muscle, but for self-love.
I love it. Now, I think a lot of people struggle with self-love,
Yeah.
and Love Yourself actually dives into that. Why is that? Why do people have such a hard time loving themselves?
Yeah, the book actually highlights 6 reasons.
Oh, wow.
So things like childhoods that were filled with criticism or neglect, societal pressures that tell us that we're not enough, or even rigid religious beliefs can impact our self-perception.
It's so interesting, right? Because it's not just like a decision.
Right.
We can't just snap our fingers and be like, oh, I love myself now.
Right.
There's all this baggage and...
Absolutely.
Well,
And layers.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
And unpacking those layers is a big part of what Love Yourself guides you through.
Okay.
But thankfully, it's not all doom and gloom.
Okay.
It also provides a roadmap for how to build self-love,
Uh-huh.
no matter what your past looks like.
Okay.
And this is where mindfulness comes in.
Okay, so I was wondering when we were going to get to that one. How does mindfulness play into all this?
So mindfulness explains that the practice of mindfulness meditation can help you become more aware of your thoughts and feelings.
Okay.
But the key is without judgment.
Okay, so you're not beating yourself up for
Right.
thinking negative thoughts. You're just kind of observing them.
Exactly. The book outlines a super simple 8-step meditation practice,
Oh, cool.
even if you've never meditated before.
I bet there's a lot of research that supports this idea of mindfulness, right?
Studies show that mindfulness can significantly reduce anxiety and depression.
Wow.
And it can lead to better relationships, improved sleep, healthier eating habits, and it can even help you become more resilient to stress.
Wow. Those are some pretty big claims. I'm sold. I'm ready to try this. So, okay, we've established that self-love is all about action,
Yes.
and mindfulness can help us get there.
Absolutely.
But what does this actually look like in our daily lives? What tips do these books give us?
Well, Love Yourself has some interesting suggestions for how to incorporate self-love into your routine.
Okay.
And it starts with how you begin your day.
Okay.
Ditch the phone first thing in the morning,
Okay. I'm listening.
and instead focus on 6 things: hydration, stretching, gratitude, visualization, self-affirmation, and a healthy breakfast.
I love that. So much better than scrolling through social media first thing in the morning. But is there any science behind these 6 things?
What's fascinating is that each step has psychological benefits.
Okay.
So for instance, gratitude boosts your mood, visualization helps with motivation,
Makes sense.
and that healthy breakfast fuels both your body and your mind to take on the day.
I love it. So we're starting the day strong, but what about those times when self-love means making tough choices?
Yeah.
Like saying no to things that aren't serving us?
Love Yourself is a big proponent of self-discipline,
Oh.
the ability to say no even when things are tempting.
Yeah.
It's all about aligning your actions with your values.
What does that look like for you, aligning your actions with your values? Has that been a struggle?
Oh, it's definitely a practice.
Yeah.
It's ongoing.
Yeah.
But the more I prioritize my values,
Uh-huh.
the more fulfilling my life becomes.
Makes sense.
It's not always easy to say no.
Yeah.
especially to things that we enjoy
Of course.
or things that we feel pressured to do.
Right.
But in the long run, those choices build confidence
Absolutely.
and a sense of being in charge of your own life.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of taking charge, Love Yourself dedicates a whole chapter to goal setting.
Yeah.
What's the main takeaway there?
Setting meaningful goals can boost your self-confidence and give you a sense of purpose.
Yeah.
The book lists 20 goal-setting tips.
Oh my gosh.
But if we connect it to the bigger picture,
Okay.
it's all about understanding what really matters to you and taking steps to create a life that reflects those values.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's not just about achieving any goal. It's about like making sure that goal is in line with your values and who you want to be.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about how we treat ourselves, the choices we make.
Yeah,
What about the role of relationships in self-love?
that's a good point. Love Yourself highlights that it's a two-way street between self-love and healthy relationships.
What does that mean?
So loving yourself helps you set boundaries
Okay.
and not tolerate mistreatment.
Yeah.
It gives you the strength to walk away from relationships that don't serve you.
Right.
On the flip side, unhealthy relationships can really chip away at your self-worth
Wow.
and make it harder to love yourself.
That's a good point.
The book even lists 7 warning signs of a bad relationship.
Ooh, can you give us a couple of those?
Sure. So one red flag is constant criticism.
Okay.
If you're constantly being put down or made to feel inadequate, that's a sign the relationship might be toxic.
Right.
Another sign is feeling like you're walking on eggshells,
Whoa, yeah.
afraid to express your true feelings because you don't want to upset the other person.
Definitely signs that something's not right.
Right.
It's so important to remember that we deserve to be in relationships that uplift us and empower us.
Absolutely. Recognizing those red flags is crucial to cultivating those healthy relationships that support your journey to self-love.
Totally. It's so important to remember that we're not alone in this journey. We all have those inner voices.
Right.
That can be pretty harsh sometimes.
Yeah.
What does mindfulness say about like silencing that inner critic?
Well, mindfulness offers some really powerful techniques for managing those negative thoughts.
Okay.
And it all comes back to that non-judgmental awareness. We talked about earlier, the book talks about observing your thoughts
Yeah.
as they arise,
Yeah.
like clouds passing by.
Oh, so instead of getting caught up in them, you just notice them
Right.
and let them kind of float on by.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're not trying to suppress or fight them.
Yeah.
You're simply acknowledging them and letting them go.
Okay, so you're creating space then for more like positive and self-affirming thoughts.
Right.
But how does this tie back to self-love?
What's so fascinating is that this shift in thinking can have a ripple effect
Okay.
on every aspect of your life.
Wow.
Your relationships, your career, even your physical health.
Okay.
When you start to treat yourself with more kindness and compassion internally, it naturally extends outwards.
It's like you can't pour from an empty cup, right? If we're constantly criticizing ourselves, it's
Right.
going to be really hard to show up for ourselves and for others.
It's true.
Speaking of careers, Love Yourself also talks about the importance of finding work that aligns with your values and your passions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When you're doing work that feels meaningful, it's just easier to feel good about yourself.
Right.
You have a greater sense of purpose and contribution.
Yeah, that makes sense. But what if someone's stuck in a job they hate?
Right.
Like, not everyone has the luxury of quitting and pursuing their dream career.
That's a great point.
Hmm.
And Love Yourself doesn't suggest you have to make a drastic change overnight.
Okay.
It's more about identifying even just a small part
Okay.
of your current work that aligns with your values.
Okay.
Maybe it's the people you work with,
Uh-huh.
or the opportunity to learn new skills.
Okay.
And by focusing on those positive aspects, you can shift your perspective
Okay.
and start taking steps towards a more fulfilling path,
Okay.
even if it's a gradual process.
So even if we can't change our situation right away,
Right.
we can change how we think about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We have so much more control
Yeah,
than we realize.
totally. Okay. I'm feeling inspired. But before we get too carried away talking about goals and careers, let's not forget about something that's crucial for self-love.
Yes.
Rest and relaxation.
You're so right.
Yeah.
Love Yourself is all about giving yourself permission to recharge.
Uh-huh.
Indulge in activities that bring you joy.
It's funny how sometimes the simplest things are the hardest to do.
It's true.
We're so programmed to be like productive and busy that
Right.
we forget to just enjoy ourselves.
It's so true.
Yeah.
The book encourages you to treat yourself
Yeah.
with the same kindness and consideration
Uh-huh.
that you would offer a loved one.
Yeah. What are some ways that you like to unwind and practice self-care?
Well, lately, I've been trying to incorporate more mindfulness
Okay.
into my everyday life.
How do you do that?
Even when I'm doing something simple, like taking a walk,
Uh-huh.
I try to really pay attention to my surroundings.
Yeah.
The sights, the sounds, the sensations.
I love that. It's amazing how much richer our experiences can be
Right.
when we're just present.
I love that mindfulness would say that even those simple pleasures
Yeah.
can be enhanced.
Totally. By bringing mindful awareness to them.
It's like turning those everyday activities into these like mini retreats.
Yep.
And it shows that self-love doesn't have to be complicated.
Right.
You know, it's as simple as savoring that cup of tea
Right.
or appreciating a beautiful sunset.
Beautifully said. It's about those small, intentional acts of kindness towards
I
ourselves.
love that. So we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
We've explored the components of self-love,
Yeah.
the role of mindfulness,
Yeah.
practical tips for daily living, and even the importance of rest and relationships.
Yeah. And through it all, we've seen that self-love is a journey.
It's not a destination.
Exactly.
Mhm.
It's about making those conscious choices each day
Uh-huh.
to prioritize your well-being
Yeah.
and cultivate that deeper connection with yourself.
And it's okay to stumble along the way.
Of course, self-love isn't about perfection.
It's about progress.
Exactly. It's about embracing the journey with all its ups and downs.
Yeah.
And treating ourselves with compassion every step of the way. I love that. Before we wrap up this section, I want to touch on one more important aspect of self-love.
Okay.
Forgiveness.
Love yourself really emphasizes the importance of letting go of past mistakes, offering ourselves compassion.
It's so easy to get caught up in self-criticism.
It is.
And, dwell on things we wish we had done differently.
Right. And holding on to that guilt and shame
Mm-hmm.
only keeps us stuck in the past,
Wow.
prevents us from moving forward.
Yeah.
The book actually suggests writing a letter to yourself,
Oh, wow.
acknowledging your mistakes, expressing remorse,
Yeah.
and then offering forgiveness.
That's powerful.
It can be incredibly healing.
Yeah.
And it's a reminder that we're all human.
Yeah.
We all make mistakes and we all deserve forgiveness.
Especially from ourselves.
Yes.
And that self-forgiveness can open up so much space for growth and transformation.
It's like clearing out the cobwebs and letting the light in.
Oh, I love that analogy. It's
Yeah.
about creating a more loving and compassionate internal environment where we can thrive.
Which leads us to a really important point
Okay.
that both love yourself and mindfulness emphasize.
What's that?
Self-love is an inside job.
Okay.
It starts with how we treat ourselves, the thoughts we cultivate,
Yeah.
and the choices we make each day.
So we're not like waiting for someone else to tell us we're worthy or
Right.
or for us to achieve something to
Right.
finally love ourselves.
Exactly.
We're creating that from within.
And that can be incredibly empowering.
Yeah, I bet. So, I was thinking about those 6 reasons that Love Yourself gave for struggling with self-love.
Yeah.
It seems like so many of them come from that feeling of like not being good enough.
That's a great observation. And Love Yourself actually talks about how self-love is like this powerful antidote
Okay.
to those feelings of inadequacy. When you start treating yourself with kindness and respect, you challenge those negative beliefs.
So it's not about just masking those negative feelings with like positive affirmations. It's about genuinely shifting how we see ourselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It takes time and effort.
Yeah,
But Love Yourself argues that it's worth it.
totally. Makes sense. Before we wrap up, there's one more thing from mindfulness that I want to touch on.
Yeah.
The book talks about cultivating gratitude, but not just for the good things in our lives, but also for the challenges that we face.
Yes.
What's your take on that?
It's easy to be grateful when things are going well.
Yeah, of course.
But mindfulness suggests that even those challenging experiences can be opportunities for growth.
Okay, so instead of seeing them as setbacks, we can reframe them as
Right.
like stepping stones
Exactly.
that are helping us grow.
Exactly. It's about shifting our perspective and recognizing that even those difficult experiences
Okay.
teach us valuable lessons
Yeah.
and help us develop strengths
That we didn't even know we had.
that we didn't even know we had.
I love that. So then we're not so afraid of failing.
Right.
So we're more likely to take risks and step outside of our comfort zone.
And Love Yourself talks about that too. The importance of pushing ourselves
Wow.
beyond our comfort zones.
Okay.
The book argues that experiences that challenge us and push us to our limits can be so empowering.
So it's not all bubble baths and self-care. Sometimes self-love means like
Right.
facing our fears and like going into the unknown.
Exactly. And Love Yourself reminds us that those experiences even when they're uncomfortable,
Yeah.
can lead to a deeper self-love
Okay.
because they show us what we're truly capable of.
It's like we're proving to ourselves
Right.
that we're stronger than we thought we were.
Exactly.
Wow.
And that realization can be so liberating.
Totally. So we've covered so much in this deep dive into self-love.
We
We
have.
talked about building those self-care routines,
Yeah.
the power of mindfulness for silencing that inner critic,
Uh-huh.
the importance of boundaries in relationships, and
Yeah.
even gratitude for those challenges in our
It
lives.
might seem like a lot.
Yeah.
But remember, self-love is a journey, not a race.
Yeah, it's those small, consistent actions
Right.
that make a difference.
Exactly. So as we wrap up, I just encourage you to reflect on what resonated with you today.
Yeah.
What's one small act of self-love that you can commit to?
Yeah, maybe it's trying out that 8-step mindfulness practice
Yeah.
from mindfulness, or maybe it's writing that forgiveness letter
Yes.
to yourself from Love Yourself.
Absolutely.
And remember, you deserve to be treated with kindness and compassion,
Yes.
especially by yourself.
It's so important.
Yeah.
And never underestimate the power of those small steps.
Yeah,
They can create a ripple effect of positive change.
I love that. And on that note, we'll let you continue exploring self-love.
All right.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep loving yourself.